مستقيم دينا قيما ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. One of the greatest values in all of humanity in general, and specifically in our religion, the Islam, it's a value that we pride upon. It's a value that has great impact upon a community, a society, upon the ummah at large. This value is amana, or translated as trust. Linguistically, amana is the opposite of khiyana. So trust is the opposite of betrayal. And technically, it is everything entrusted to you by Allah Azza wa Jal. And Allah ordered you to observe and to protect. So by this definition, amana has two meanings. Trust in general is whatever between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. So all that Allah has commanded you to do is part of the amana. And all that Allah Azza wa Jal has prohibited you from doing, adhering to it, would be part of your trust and your amana. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned this in the Quran, where Allah says, indeed, we offered the trust to the heavens, the earth, and the mountains, and they declined to bear it and feared it, but man undertook to bear it. Indeed, he was unjust and ignorant. So all these great creatures declined to take it and feared the consequences of not being able to fulfill it. Only man undertook it. And when we look at the specific meaning of amana, it is whatever is between the humans themselves, which they were ordered to preserve, to give back, and to protect. Such as whenever someone entrusts you with money, with something to safekeep, with deposits, you have no right to use it like so many of us do. Someone gives me $1,000 for safekeeping, and I need to buy some groceries, and I have money in the bank. So I said, okay, I'll take from this deposit and buy my groceries and pay some bills, and later on will compensate it from my own. I'm rich, I have money. This is haram. You are betraying the amana because it was done without the consent of the owner. Allah says in the Quran, indeed, Allah commands you to render trust to whom they are due. You have to give back. And one of the reasons that we may fail to give back what we are entrusted with is that Satan messes up with our minds, especially with trade partners. When you have money for your partner, but shaitan makes you think that, yes, but few years back, he deprived me of a percentage of the profit. He took money he did not return back. He cheated. He did this or did that. So Satan comes to you, whispers to you, and tells you, now the money you have for him, you should not give it back to him. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ clearly warned us from when he said, fulfill and give back the trust you were entrusted with, and do not betray who betrays you. So even if he betrayed me, this does not justify me to betray him in return. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ manifested in his life. When the people of Mecca were eager to kill him, to assassinate him, to harm him, he was forced to migrate to Medina. Yet, they still trusted him. And they kept their money, their wealth, their deposits with him. Any one of us would have fled away with all their wealth because they wanted to kill me. This is the least I could do. But not the Prophet ﷺ, the trustworthy. He was known as the honest, trustworthy. He left Ali, his cousin, behind to return these deposits and wealth back to their owners for 3 days. And this shows you what type of a person he was. Now, speaking about trust in a particular fashion, which is between the humans, this is also found in previous religions. This is also found with the non-Muslims. So it's not only an Islamic value, it's a value that almost all religions praise. But it depends on the commitment of the followers of these religions when it comes to implementing it. And this is why Allah tells us in the Quran, and among the people of the scriptures is he who, if you entrust him with a great amount of wealth, he will return it to you. And among them is he, if you entrust him with a dinar coin, he will not return it to you unless you are constantly standing over him demanding it. So it is important for Muslims to be fair. We cannot just simply paint all non-Muslims with the same brush and say that they are not trustworthy, that they are this and they are that. No, the Quran tells us that among them are people who are trustworthy. And either this is coming from their own conviction, their own beliefs in the scriptures and their own religions, so they're doing it religiously, or because they're doing it for a simple reason, and that is people trust those who can be trusted. So this is good for business. So if I'm honest, and if I deal with people with honesty and trust, they will buy from me more and more, so this is good for business. I've traveled across Europe, and I've seen buildings, churches, the roads, the streets, built by brick for 300 years, 400 years old, or maybe more. And you just wonder who had built all of these, because these people, they were entrusted. They did a good job. And nowadays in Muslim countries, you look at the infrastructure and you start to weep. Don't these people pray to Allah? Don't they know that what they're earning is haram when they cheat and when they embezzle and when they do a very bad job? Trust is one of the most prominent characteristics of messengers of Allah. If you read the Quran, you will find that Allah speaks about Nuh, about Hud, about Salih, about Lut, about Shu'aib, about Musa, peace be upon them all, messengers of Allah Azza wa Jal, and he repeatedly says, indeed, I am to you a trustworthy messenger. They all say this because Allah entrusted them with this. They must not add anything to the message of Allah, nor deduct anything of it. And Musa was also described in the Quran when he gave a helping hand to the two women trying to water their livestock. One of the women said, "Oh my father, hire him. Indeed, the best one you can hire is the strong and the trustworthy." And this is the best whenever you come in HR, human resources. When you want to hire someone, if you can make sure that he is strong, meaning that he is knowledgeable in what he's doing. He has the academics, he has the experience. But this is not sufficient by itself. He has to be trustworthy. He has to fear Allah Azza wa Jal and does what he does out of sincerity. If you manage to get this, then you have a win-win situation. Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, said, "Do not be deceived by someone's prayer and fasting. Rather, listen to him when he speaks, if he doesn't lie, and look when he's entrusted, if he gives back what he's entrusted with. This is the man." So many of us judge people only through prayer and fasting, which is a ritual, which is a form of worship. But this is not everything. You have to look in their moral conduct as well. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ made 3 characteristics to be prominent signs of hypocrisy. When he said that if a person speaks and lies, and if he promises and breaks his promise, and if he betrays the trust entrusted in him, this is a sign that this person is a hypocrite. Trust is important, and this is why the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, there is no iman, there is no faith that is complete for the one who cannot be trusted. Not only that, listen to this dire warning from the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. When he warned his ummah by saying, the first thing you will lose from your religion, from Islam, is amana. Now, if we pause a bit and look at this hadith, we can understand what is going on in this world. When we find people without amana, you cannot trust them. You cannot trust those who undertake responsibilities, whether it's the father, whether it's the mother, whether it's the children, whether it's the husband, whether it's the wife, whether it's the official, whether it is the teacher, the imam of the masjid, the scholar who teaches people. If amana is stripped away from them, then you end up with the Muslims at the lowest level possible. They are at the lowest level of the food chain. Everybody abuses them and steps on them like a doormat. This is exactly what's happening to us. Because rarely you will find people doing things out of sincerity, out of amana. They're not fulfilling it. Allah Azza wa Jal warned us from betraying this amana, betraying this trust, when he said, "O you have believed, do not betray Allah and the Messenger, or betray your trusts while you know the consequence." Betraying Allah Azza wa Jal is by not fulfilling his commands. Betraying the Prophet ﷺ is by abandoning his sunnah and going against it. And betraying your trust, the things that people entrust you with. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ told us that among the signs of the Day of Judgment, lots of people say, when is the Day of Judgment? Well, there are signs. Among the signs of the Day of Judgment, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, there will come years of deception where a liar is believed. And someone who's honest and truthful is accused of lying. When someone of betrayal is entrusted, and those who are trustworthy are accused of betrayal. This is among the signs of the Day of Judgment. Nowadays, this is exactly what we see. We see that lying politicians are entrusted, while the scholars of the deen, of the religion, are accused of betrayal. We see that the people of the media who spread rumors and lies are believed. And when someone says the truth, everyone accuses him of lying. This is an issue of great importance in Islam, because Islam is built on amana. The Prophet ﷺ's sunnah and seerah is filled with amana of him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, portraying it to the ummah. Also, in the past, we've seen the mothers, the fathers, upbringing their children on amana and keeping their trust. Sulaym once dispatched her son Anas ibn Malik for an errand. On the way, he met the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ordered him to do something and told him not to tell a soul about it. So when he went back, he was late. So his mother said, "Where have you been?" He said, "I was in an errand to the Prophet ﷺ." So she said, "What did you do?" He said, "Mother, it is a secret of the Prophet ﷺ." She didn't beat him up. She didn't tell him or force him or interrogate him until he confessed. She said to him, "Son, never tell a soul about the secret of the Prophet ﷺ." This is how we should upbring our children and teach them. And this is what we have failed in miserably. And this is why we have people that are not trustworthy. They do not stand by the rules. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, one of the great caliphs of Islam, when his governor or ruler that he appointed on a particular region came to discuss with him, so he opened the books, the inventories and the expenditures. Umar, may Allah have mercy on him, lit a big candle so that they can see. It was night. So after like an hour or two of discussion and delegation, etc., once they were over from work, the man asked this Khalifa, this Caliph, "So how are you, Caliph? How are the kids? Everything is fine?" So he said, "1 second." He went and put off this big candle and lit a tiny small candle. And he came back and said, "Yeah, alhamdulillah, everything is fine. I'm fine. My health is okay." So the man asked him, "Why did you turn off the big candle and lit the little one?" He said, "The big candle is from the Muslims' treasury. It's not mine. So while we were discussing about the affairs of Muslims, I used it. But now when you're asking me about private things, I cannot use the Muslims' money." This is the head of the state doing this, refusing to abuse a candle. And this is true amana, which we lack, which we miss in companies, in offices, in government places, where everything is abused. As long as it belongs to the government, do whatever you want. You sometimes pass by government offices or companies at night when there is no work and you find it lit, the lights, air conditioning, as if nothing is coming out of your pocket, because it's not. It's coming from the Muslims' wealth. So what are the fields that we should implement amana in forms of worship? All types of worship, salat, siyam. You have to be, Allah entrusted you with it. You have to perfect it. Also the mu'adhin himself, when he calls the adhan, he's entrusted, and people break their fast and start their fasting according to his adhan. So he should fear Allah and to do it on the due time. We are entrusted to save and to protect our intellect and sanity. So we should not violate this with intoxicants, drugs, or with anything, with bad ideas and ideologies. We're entrusted with our safety. So we should not throw ourselves in harm's way by speeding or by eating something that is bad. And we are also entrusted with our reputation and honor. So we should avoid anything that mixes honor and lineages, such as zina, such as fornication, and indulging in illicit relationship. We're entrusted with wealth, money. So we have to give it its due right and not waste it extravagantly, and not to be miser and not give those who are in need. The money of the orphans, the money that we deal in transactions, selling and buying, even an advertisement. When we advertise, we have to fear Allah Azza wa Jal and make sure that we do not advertise something and lie in the process. And among all, there is the amana of knowledge. The scholars must fear Allah Azza wa Jal and deliver this knowledge up to their ability and teach the people. The amana of fatwa, you should not give fatwa unless it is well given and studied, in the sense that you know what the person asking meant by his question, and you have knowledge sufficient enough to answer him, and you do your due diligence to give the right answer to the people. And finally, there is the greatest amana of all, which is taking care of your wife, your spouse that is, and your children. This is an amana, and Allah will ask you about it on the Day of Judgment. The topic is quite long, but unfortunately, this is all the time we have. We have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah, we'll be right back.